what abundance do we have that we can just turn a knob and get water pouring down on us really for as long as we like? Hello, welcome back, welcome. This is Dr. Taryn McCarthy, and you are listening to the Business of Happiness podcast. I am so grateful to have you back here again today and so excited for this journey that we've started together. And I just want to say a huge thank you for everyone who joined me last week for last week's episode. It was huge for me. I was really so grateful for the opportunity to be a little vulnerable and tell you a little bit more about where I'm coming from. And today we're going to be talking about the impact of gratitude, both on our business and in our personal lives. Next week, please join me again as we take a deeper look at the power of intention. Another huge resource, another huge place that I've learned how to just make a greater impact in my business and also affect my inner fulfillment and happiness to a different degree. I'm excited to share some personal stories with you next week. And as we go forward today, I think this is going to be a great one. I know that the topic of gratitude can be cliche. We hear this all the time. We've been told since we were little we're supposed to be grateful for everything. But I want to show you a few other ways of how I've incorporated it into my business and let you know about kind of the ripple effects all around me. Not only in being able to see measurable success and improvement in my business, but also in my own confidence and in my own level of happiness. So let's get started. Let's talk about the impact of gratitude. You know, it's funny because gratitude seems like such a superfluous thing, and it sounds like some people think that they are either naturally grateful or not necessarily so. I know that my middle son is one of those who every time I say the word gratitude kind of rolls his eyes at me. And that's the attitude that I think we begin to get into when we hear this word too often. And especially great thought leaders and mindset coaches talk a lot about gratitude, but there is so much power and impact that gratitude can have. And one of the best places to see that is in business. You know, it's no secret that when we show our gratitude, people respond favorably. I don't know if you've ever tried this before, but if you just slow down and pause and allow yourself to be grateful with looking someone in the eye and saying thank you for something, you almost can catch people off guard in the middle of the day. My favorite place to do this is at Starbucks. They're so busy. They're so fully efficient and they're going through their day and serving one cup of coffee after another. But if you've ever done this, just stop at the window and pause and look them in the eye and say, thank you so much for making my day better. It's almost shocking the results you'll see. It's almost shocking the kind of response you get. I mean, it really impacts their day to a greater extent and reminds them of why they're doing this. Or maybe it gives them insight into the power behind what they're doing. That's the first key I want to talk about with gratitude, is it allows us to see things in a different way. And this is such a huge concept in terms of positive, impactful leadership. The best leaders, the greatest leaders, the most impactful leaders are the ones that can fly up above and see the broader picture. I know you know what I'm talking about. The rest of us who are sitting mired in the details and stuck in the weeds have a hard time seeing the bigger picture and looking beyond negativity or impending doom. They can kind of see what will come after this time. Those are the secrets of the leaders who can see the broader picture when they can focus on things like gratitude. So, what am I talking about? Well, let's take it more on a smaller scale and let's talk again about neuroscience and our tendency to delete or generalize. These are neuroscience terms of what we do just in everyday life so that we can stop the bombardment of stimuli coming at us from the outside world. So we tend to kind of numb out or block out certain sensory information. Well, the same is true in business. If we paid attention to every aspect, that's what they call micromanaging, right? When you're trying to put your fingers and keep track of every single thing that's happening at every single minute, you miss the bigger picture. And that's where gratitude can step in. So, as a business owner, when I start to feel myself becoming anxious or stressed out about some detail, I take a deep breath and remind myself to be grateful for what I know to be true. And what it does is it almost pulls you right out of that moment where you're mired in the stress and mired in the details and pulls us right back up to that 50,000-foot view of the bigger picture, of the broader mission, and allows us to kind of see further than the immediate. This is a mindset. It's a mindset that isn't just come about by the snap of a finger. What it is it needs a practice. So just like everything else, it's like a muscle that you have to constantly train. And as you do so, it gets easier and easier and easier. And then all of a sudden it becomes a part of your daily ritual, your daily habit set. Just like, brushing your teeth, for example. When you brush your teeth, I know, you guys are giggling a little bit because here's the dentist telling us we should brush our teeth. I know, but bear with me for a minute. Brushing your teeth one day is not going to prevent you from cavities for the rest of your life. And if we had to constantly remind ourselves to brush our teeth, it would be a real pain in the neck. But what's happened is you've kind of integrated it into a ritual in your life that makes it seem simple and easy, and eventually it just becomes a part of your everyday process. If I told you you had to integrate a new skill every single day, in fact, if I told you to do it twice a day, it might be overwhelming. And yet, brushing your teeth doesn't seem like such a big stress. Well, the reason why is because you've made a place for it in your schedule in the day, and you've not given yourself an alternative. Well, the same can be true for a gratitude practice. It can be true for anything that you want to do. If you just set your mind to establishing a time and place, or sometimes a trigger. So a trigger to remind you to brush your teeth might be morning breath. I mean, that immediately, I don't know if you have the same feeling, but when you wake up and your mouth has been kind of closed and moist and hot and all night long and the bacteria has been proliferating and you take that first nice big yawn, you're reminded immediately, I got to brush my teeth. So establishing a trigger or a reminder in your everyday life to use gratitude is one way to incorporate it into your life. And the nice thing about a gratitude practice is it really doesn't take a lot of brain power, and it only takes a few seconds. So it's not a very big new introduction into your daily practice. My favorite place to incorporate a daily gratitude practice is in the shower. I love it because it starts my day off really well. It gives me a certain perspective for the day. And the power in it is, even if you wake up with anxiety about the day, even if you're anticipating something stressful at work, or you wake up thinking about something negative, you can immediately pull out of it with gratitude. Don't get me wrong, some days it is hard to do. I have most definitely had days where I just am struggling to get out of bed. Either you're not feeling well or there's really something heavy weighing on you. And I think those are the most powerful days to have a gratitude practice. And sometimes gratitude seems so simple and so minute in those difficult days. There have been days I can remember from my past where I'm literally grateful for the cup of coffee in my hands. Or even if I can't even get to a good place and I'm still lying in bed and I'm noticing negative self talk happening or fearful talk happening before I even get out of my bed, I've just found myself lying there thinking, I am so grateful for this bed. I can't wait to return to it tonight. Tonight, it's going to feel so good to get back to this place, and I'm so grateful for this bed. Just that little thought immediately gives you a different perspective. So the shower is a super place because, once again, when you get in the shower, you've got the water rushing down on you, and there's a sensory change, a clear change from when you were out of the shower to when you get in the shower. And almost when that water hits you, you can have that be your stimulus to remind you about a gratitude practice. Doing so in the shower is great for moms, working moms, busy moms, even non-working moms who are very busy moms. When you get in the shower, it's your one place of solace. It's the one place, and I know you know what I'm talking about, moms. It's even the toilet is not a safe place, right? I've always said when my kids were little, if I didn't know where to find anybody, I would just go to the loo. And when I get to the loo, all of a sudden, all the kids appear and the dogs, right? They all know when you're in the bathroom. But if you think about it in the shower, that's the one place where you're permitting yourself to have privacy and quiet, and you can be alone with your own thoughts. It's also the place where lots of negative thoughts can start to spin around. So that's why I really like doing my gratitude practice in the shower. It starts my day off well, and it's a great reminder as soon as the water hits my skin, I can start practicing my gratitude. And I just give myself 3 things, just 3 things to remind myself what to be grateful for. And sometimes it's the water hitting my head because I can go no further than that. And what a big one that is, right? I mean, I think that's why I love gratitude practices, because it reminds us of those important things in life. Here I am, maybe stressing about a conversation with someone I have to have at work, and I'm getting into my head and I'm reliving and I'm spinning around in that conversation, rewriting it over and over in my head. But the minute the water hits my head, I'm reminded, thank you for this water. Thank you that I'm able to turn on a tap and have water pour down on me and wash me clean. Now, living in America, I know that might seem silly, but let me tell you, on a broader scale, what an enormous gift. What abundance do we have that we can just turn a knob and get water pouring down on us really for as long as we like. You might not know this about me, but actually I was born and grew up in South Africa. So you'll hear that little accent peeking in there every now and then. But when I grew up in South Africa in the 80s, we were in the middle of severe drought in our country. And South Africa still struggles with drought to this day, to various extents. But I remember in grade 2, we had to do posters of water conservation. And I remember making a picture of one girl in a big full bathtub and a big X through it, and then another bathtub with very little water lying in the bottom, and the whole family and the dog were all in the bathtub with a big check mark, like, do this, not that. The thought of standing under a shower at that time was inconceivable to me. We did not have that luxury. That is the truth right now, today, in so many parts of our world, and we take it for granted. How much less stressed am I going to be about that conversation I get to have with my colleague later in the day when I realize the wealth that I have standing under my shower. So, what seemed like something silly, thank you for the water showering down on me, actually is enormous when we allow ourselves to feel that gratitude. Oh, deep, deep inside of me, I am so grateful. Do you see how it suddenly puts everything in perspective? Now I can think about something else I'm grateful for. And once again, it can be as small as the razor blade in my hand that allows me to shave my armpits. Or it can be something much greater, like thank you for my husband who's taking care of the kids right now so that I can be in this shower. And once again, it just puts me in a different mindset. There's so much power that you have in starting your day with a positive, grateful mindset. That gratitude can still be brought out throughout the day at work. And it's interesting, this one's a little bit more challenging, but what I'm going to tell you about next is a practice of recognizing in the moment, in the negative moment, gratitude. And so, some people might say, well, this isn't for me, and maybe it isn't, and maybe this is something that takes longer to get to. But when I get into a negative situation and I start to feel uncomfortable and I feel my defenses coming up on me, I try to use that as a trigger for gratitude as well. Don't get me wrong, there's no benefit of allowing abuse. Of course, you never want to be grateful for someone abusing you. That is not what I'm talking about at all. But what I'm saying is gratitude allows you to see the abundance around you and the tools that around you and the insight you can gather from uncomfortable situations to allow you to choose something different. So I've had that experience in my life in business where I felt like, specifically, this is an example of a financial advisor that my business partner and I had. And, we got to the point where we just felt like our values were not aligned. Every time I got off the phone with him, I felt a little bit uncomfortable. We were bringing up more and more conversations that I was running around in my head over and reliving these conversations and thinking, I wish that had turned out differently, or he just doesn't see what I'm talking about, or making decisions that just felt in my gut uncomfortable. And I found myself in a position where I really had to make a choice. And the choice was either we stick with this financial advisor or we move to someone else, which had its own set of complications. Once again, that can be a really stressful situation when you've allied yourself with a certain business partner, and then you realize you really have to choose whether or not to continue this relationship or allow it to dissolve. And so when I felt that discomfort, when I felt that defensiveness, when I felt that blame start creeping in, I immediately pulled back and reached for gratitude. Just try it and see what you come up with. Because as soon as I allowed myself to be grateful for the tools that I have, I allowed myself to see that I am grateful for choice. I'm grateful to be in the position where I get to make this decision. Now, this is the second secret of gratitude, and that is gratitude is empowering. It reminds you of the control and the power you do have in the situation, even in negative situations. Another great example in business is firing or letting go of team members. Very difficult for many people to do. That kind of controversial or opposing views that can bring up all kinds of negative emotions and make you feel disempowered. At the very least, you feel uncomfortable letting someone go because you know that this is their source of income, right? So from a very basic human level, you might feel uncomfortable saying goodbye to somebody. But there might be like a nagging in you that's reminding you that this person just is not a good fit for the business. And so, for whatever reason it is, you might realize, no, this person really needs to move on. Once again, another one of those great examples of in business when we wake up in the morning and we dread the day. And that can start us off feeling very negative and overwhelmed in business. But pulling back and stepping into a place of gratitude allows you to see it differently. So, focusing on really what is there in my toolkit in terms of what I can be grateful for. Well, I'm very grateful that I'm in this position to make this decision. I'm very grateful that there's been enough negativity, enough bristling of the hairs on the back of my neck that I realize that something needs to be done. And now I can say, I'm very grateful that I value my business to such an extent that I'm even thinking about making this difficult decision, that I'm even entertaining doing this. And then you can start to see, well, thank you to my employee for showing me how uncomfortable you are. Because it's always because of the actions of an employee. Thank you for showing me that you're not very happy in this position either. And now I'm grateful to see this in a broader perspective and see that this could actually be a positive change in both of our lives. See how gratitude allows you to see things a little bit differently and also reminds you of the power that you do have in your control. And then the last part about gratitude that I want to talk about today is seeing the ripple effects of gratitude on other people and on the success of your business. Because when your employees start to see the gratitude you have to offer, they start acting and behaving differently. You know, just by saying thank you for something, even in passing, makes us all feel a little bit great about ourselves. I have to tell you, one friend of mine who started watching this podcast sent me a text today saying thank you for the information that we were delivering here. And just that text, made my whole day. I don't even know if he realizes. And Mike, if you're listening, I hope you realize what an enormous impact that made on my day. That small text, that quick 2-second thought, I'm just reaching out to you to say thank you, impacted me in so many positive ways. Changed my mindset, allowed me to see my day differently. Imagine the power you have to do that for your employees, just in 2 seconds. Not only that, but it also reminds you to be thankful of yourself. Have any of you seen, a couple years ago, Snoop Dogg gave a speech at an award ceremony when he was receiving an award. And pardon me, I don't remember which award it was, but I remember his speech. And his speech ran something along the lines of, I'd like to thank myself for getting up every day. I'd like to thank myself for the hard work I put in and for the vision. I'd like to thank myself for never giving up. I love that speech. I love the idea of being your own cheerleader. Because there are situations where you don't have a boss who can look down and say, thank you for everything you're doing. That is true empowerment when you can be grateful to yourself for always showing up, for always trying to do better and be better. Hell, thank yourself for listening to this podcast and hearing the same message over and over again, because I know that just by having sat here this long and listened to this message for so long, it really speaks to the fact that you want to feel better. You want to do better. Because remember, when you feel good, you can do good, and I mean it. So why not help yourself feel better by adding some gratitude for yourself? I wish this for every full-time stay-at-home mom and every teacher out there. Please understand and hear my gratitude, but remind yourself to be grateful as well. Because it's very hard at the end of a day, if you're a stay-at-home mom, when you're feeding and cleaning and organizing and planning and homeschooling and making good decisions, nutritional decisions for your family, and growth and positive mindset decisions and education opportunities for your children, nobody comes to you at the end of the day and says, wow, thank you for all you do. So important to remind yourself and to be grateful to yourself. So when you're standing in that shower tomorrow morning, remind yourself to be grateful for who you are. You be your greatest cheerleader. And wow, what an enormous gift to teach our children. What an enormous gift to be able to say to your daughter, you have the power to make yourself feel great. You have the power to be grateful for yourself. I'm giving you that permission and that power so that one day when you're in a position or in a job where your boss hasn't learned the skill yet, you can provide it to yourself so that you can continue to feel great about yourself and do great things in the world. Another really super place to have gratitude is in your car. Once again, quiet place. Sometimes we're sitting in traffic, we have long commutes. There's a lot of opportunity for us to either spin around in a negative mindset or pull it back and start ourselves off on a trajectory of positive gratitude. I love doing this in the car. First of all, I love my car. I think I told you in a previous episode, I have an orange Jeep Wrangler, and let me tell you, it's my dream car. It's a dream come true to be in this car. I love the ride is, bumpy on the road. I love the slamming of the car door to close it. I feel alive in this thing. I love taking the roof off. I drive with the roof off whenever I can. I love every aspect of it. So very similar to the shower, that stimulus of just getting into the car immediately reminds me of gratitude. And that's when I start my gratitude practice again. And I know that every time I do it, I reinforce that mindset, and it paves the way for the entire day. It's a great way to get started in the day, and it's a great way to see real positive impact very early on. If you've been trying to think of how could I change the way I see work, how could I change my perspective, this is the perfect starting point. Is just instituting a gratitude practice daily and making it easy, making it something that you can remind yourself of by having a stimulus like closing that door, hearing the door close, or feeling the shower on your head and reminding you that that's when you start thinking about gratitude. Well, once again, I'm grateful to each and every one of you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to this episode. We actually touched on a few things we're going to talk about next week when we focus on the power of intention. So join me next week as we learn a little bit more about intention. And in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful week. And remember, today is going to be a great day.